Pope Francis to visit Belgium on his 46th apostolic voyage. The logo for the visit illustrates the Pope and the people walking against a backdrop showing the map of Belgium. One could see different shades of blue, yellow, and white on the logo, representing people from different walks of life. En route, Avec Espérance, meaning on the road with hope, is chosen as a motto for the papal visit to Belgium. It reverberates hope, renewal, and optimism, encouraging the faithful in Belgium to be more active in serving the Church and the community. The Catholic community of Belgium is all set for the papal voyage scheduled from September 26 to 29. On the last day of the visit, the Holy Father would beatify Venerable Anne of Jesus, a Carmelite nun, during the Eucharist celebration at the King Baudouin Stadium in Brussels. Shalom World News brings you the live broadcast of the Apostolic Journey to Luxembourg and Belgium, September 26 to 29. Stay tuned. In 1985, Belgium was still healing from the wounds of World War II when Pope Jean Paul II visited, bringing much-needed spiritual comfort. His presence uplifted a nation in pain. 10 years later, Belgium welcomed him back for a momentous occasion, the beatification of Father Damien of Molokai. This humble Belgian missionary devoted his life to caring for those with leprosy in Hawaii, ultimately losing his life to the disease he fought alongside them. Father Damien chose to live with the outcasts, sharing in their suffering and showing them that no one was forgotten. During the beatification, Pope Jean Paul II reminded the people that Blessed Damien's life was a reflection of Christ's love and that holiness is a call for everyone. As Pope Francis prepares for his first visit to Belgium, the nation once again looks forward to a time of renewal and spiritual blessing. Shalom World News brings you the live broadcast of the Apostolic Journey to Luxembourg and Belgium, September 26 to 29. Stay tuned.
Maestà il Re e la Regina, et les loro Maestà il Re Alberto et la Regina Paola. Éminence, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, Sa Sainteté le Pape, Leur Majesté le Roi et la Reine, Leur Majesté le Roi Albert et la Reine Paola. Eminenties, Excellenties, Dames en Heren, Zijn Heiligheid Paus Franciscus, Hunne Majesteiten de Koning en de Koningin, en Hunne Majesteiten Koning Albert en Koningin Paola. Eminenzen, Exzellenzen, Damen und Herren, Seine Heiligkeit, Papst Franziskus, Ihre Majestäten der König und die Königin und Ihre Majestäten König Albert und Königin Paola.
Introduction in various languages that you've heard as the Pope approaches the stage. I would like to welcome all of you joining us through the various Vatican media channels, the Vatican Audio Radio app, the Vatican News Web portal or YouTube channel, or via one of our partner stations, including EWTN TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Salt and Light TV, Radio Maria England, Shalom World TV, Admadarshan TV, Catholic TV, Luminous Radio India, and Radio Maria Papua New Guinea. A very warm welcome, one and all. And you just heard a very warm round of applause from the gathered political leaders and civil authorities. And the Pope is being seated and will be introduced here in just a moment. The Pope arrived at the castle just a few moments ago and
Très Saint-Père, quelle joie de vous accueillir ici parmi nous,
being
près de
greeted
30
by
ans
the
après
King.
la visite du pape Jean-Paul II. Votre mission apostolique,
Your
héritée de
Holiness,
Saint-Pierre,
what a joy it is to welcome you
s'inscrit dans
here
la
today,
grande
nearly 30 years
tradition
after the
chrétienne.
visit of Pope John Paul II.
Elle est aussi le
Your
reflet de
apostolic
votre
mission, passed
éminente
down from Saint
personnalité.
Peter, firmly upholds the great Christian
Conscient des
tradition,
tourments de notre monde,
while also reflecting
vous avez
your
fait de
highly
la lutte
respected
contre
character.
toutes les formes d'injustice
Aware
le
of the
cœur de
upheavals
votre
facing our
vocation.
world, you have placed the fight
Vos paroles
against all forms
vos
of injustice at the heart of your
et vos gestes
vocation.
apportent espérance et lumière jusqu'aux périphéries de la grande famille humaine.
Your words, reflections, and
Votre
actions
tout
offer
récent
hope
périple
and
en
light
Asie
to the
du
most
Sud-Est
distant reaches of the
en
human
est
family.
l'illustration.
Your recent journey to Southeast Asia
Vous adressez
is a
une parole
perfect
de vie à
illustration of
toute
this.
l'humanité, allant
You
à la
deliver a message of
rencontre des
life
peuples les
to
plus
all
pauvres,
humanity,
les plus lointains,
whether meeting the
les plus
poorest,
touchés
the most
par le changement
distant,
climatique.
or those
et
most
par les
deeply
guerres
affected
oubliées.
by climate change and
Nous
forgotten
soutenons vos
wars.
efforts, car seule la paix permet
We
le
support your
développement,
efforts
l'éducation,
because only peace
soins,
can pave the
la
way
justice
for
sociale.
development, education, healthcare, and social
Heilige
justice.
Vader, u heeft
Holy
de
Father,
verschrikkelijke tragedie
you have
van het
condemned
seksueel
the unspeakable
misbruik binnen de
tragedy
kerk
of sexual abuse within the
streng
church
veroordeeld.
in the strongest possible
U
terms,
heeft concrete maatregelen getroffen
and you have taken
om
tangible
dat
steps
afschuwelijk geweld te
to
bestrijden.
combat these horrific acts.
Er werd kinderen een vreselijk leed aangedaan, dat ze voor de rest van hun leven zullen
Children
meedragen.
have been deeply wounded, scarred for
Dat
life.
geldt ook voor de slachtoffers van
The
gedwongen
same
adoptie.
is true for the victims of forced adoption.
Het heeft zo lang geduurd voor hun noodkreten werden gehoord.
It has taken far too long for their cries to be heard
Er
and
wordt al lang
acknowledged.
gezocht naar manieren om het onherstelbare
It
te
has taken
herstellen.
far too long to begin looking for ways
We
to
weten hoe
repair
zeer de
the
Belgische
irreparable.
kerk daarvoor ijvert. Die inspanningen
We
die ze
recognize the
beslist
efforts of the Church in
onophoudelijk
Belgium in this regard,
voor te zetten.
efforts which must continue
Heilige
resolutely and
Ihr Leben
relentlessly.
und Handeln steht
Holy Father,
unter dem Zeichen
Your
der
life and actions are
Selbsthingabe.
defined by your selflessness.
Unermüdlich setzen Sie sich ein für unser gemeinsames Haus, die Erde.
Tirelessly, you work for our shared home, the earth, for the complete development of every individual, and for dialogue among the philosophical, spiritual, and religious ideas.
Très Saint-Père, vous
Most Holy
dénoncez
Father,
à juste titre ce que vous appelez
you
lucidement
have rightly
une
condemned
troisième guerre
what you have
mondiale
insightfully
par morceaux.
called a third world war fought
Très Saint-Père,
piecemeal.
nous accueillons un pèlerin
Today
qui
we
porte un
welcome you,
message
Your Holiness,
universel de
as a
paix,
pilgrim who carries a
de
universal
justice.
message of peace,
Vous rappelez que
reconciliation,
chaque
and
personne a
justice.
pour vocation
You remind us
d'être
that every
aimé
person
et
is
d'aimer.
destined to be loved and to love.
Cette conception humaniste et spirituelle a toujours été celle
This
des
humanistic
universités
and
de Louvain,
spiritual vision
dont nous fêtons
has
le
always been
600e
central to the
anniversaire
universities of
et qui
Leuven,
vous amène
which this
chez
year
nous.
celebrate their
Je sais combien
600th
les
anniversary
étudiants et leurs
and
professeurs
have
seront
brought
heureux
you
de
here
vous
to
rencontrer
us. I
aujourd'hui
know
et
how
demain
eager the students and their professors are to meet
et
you
de vous
tomorrow
confier leurs
and the
préoccupations.
following day,
La
and to share their
mobilisation
concerns with you.
sur les grands défis qu'ils évoqueront
Their commitment
s'inscrit
to tackle the
dans les
major
valeurs mêmes
challenges
des
aligns with the very
universités de Louvain.
values of the universities of Leuven.
Heilige Vader,
Holy Father,
hartelijkheid en vrijgevigheid kenmerken het Belgische volk.
the Belgian people are
Deze
generous and
geest
welcoming.
vinden we ook
These
terug
qualities also
in onze
characterize our civil
bijzonder
society,
actieve
many of whose
burgermaatschappij,
representatives are present today.
waarvan talrijke vertegenwoordigers hier aanwezig zijn.
Civil society makes an important
Deze
contribution to the fight against
burgermaatschappij
injustice and exclusion.
Strijdt dagelijks tegen onrecht en uitsluiting.
In this context, how could we fail to remember Father Damien, who gave his life for the
Zijn
most
leven gaf
excluded?
voor de meest
He remains an
verstotenen.
example to us all.
Hij blijft een groot voorbeeld voor ons
Holy
allen.
Father, we hope that your visit will give you
Wij hopen dat u tijdens uw verblijf in de
We
hartelijkheid
hope that your visit will give you the opportunity to discover the generosity and hospitality of the Belgian people.
a nome di questo
Most Holy
popolo
Father, it
generoso
is with great honor
sono felice
and on behalf of these
di
generous
porgerle
people
il benvenuto.
that I welcome you. The words of His Majesty. Pope, the King of Belgium. Introducing our Holy Father, Pope Francis. He will now address Belgian authorities and representatives of civil society.
Votre Sainteté, Sire, Mesdames et Messieurs, je vous souhaite la bienvenue en Belgique. Cela fait maintenant près de 30 ans que notre pays a reçu la visite du chef de l'Église catholique. Votre engagement en faveur de la paix et de la compréhension mutuelle entre les différentes
So
cultures
we first have the discourse from the Belgian Prime Minister, Alexander De Croo.
Notre société est fondée sur le respect et le dialogue entre les communautés. À une époque où la distance entre les communautés semble se creuser, nous accordons une valeur cardinale à la puissance du dialogue. Il nous incombe d'offrir à nos citoyennes et à nos citoyens un avenir construit non pas sur la peur et la méfiance, mais sur la solidarité et le respect mutuel. La Belgique, forte de ses valeurs, prend ses responsabilités. Notre action prend appui sur un ordre mondial fondé sur les droits humains et sur la justice. La guerre en Ukraine nous rappelle une dure réalité. La paix n'est jamais acquise. Et les artisans de la paix doivent se montrer déterminés. La Belgique se tient aux côtés du peuple ukrainien sans aucune faille. Et nous continuerons à soutenir sa quête de paix et de sécurité. Le conflit au
Your Holiness,
Moyen-Orient,
Sire, ladies and gentlemen,
illustre
welcome to,
bien
welcome
les
to
conséquences d'une
Belgium.
autodéfense
It's now almost
qui
30
bafoue
years since our country
le droit
received a visit from the head of the
international.
Catholic Church. Your
Seul
commitment to peace and
règne
mutual
alors
understanding between
la
different
loi
cultures and
du plus
faiths
fort.
is greatly appreciated. Our
Une
society
issue
is founded on
existe,
respect and dialogue between
mais elle
communities.
passe impérativement
At a
par
time
la
when the
libération
distance
des
between
otages
communities seems to be
et par le
widening,
retour
we place a cardinal
pour la
value on
population
the
de
power of
Gaza
dialogue.
à
It's
des
our
conditions de
responsibility to
vie
offer our citizens a
dignes.
future built not on fear and
La
mistrust,
guerre
but on solidarity
est
and mutual
toujours une
respect.
défaite pour
Belgium,
l'humanité.
strengthened by these values, is assuming its
Uw
responsibilities.
heiligheid,
Our action is based on a world order
België
founded on
is
human
sinds
rights
het
and
bezoek van
justice.
uw voorganger
The war in Ukraine
ingrijpend
reminds us of a harsh reality.
in
Peace
enkele
can
decennia
never be taken for
ziet de
granted.
spiritualiteit van vele Belgen er helemaal anders uit. Diverse geloofsgemeenschappen leven in onze seculiere samenleving vreedzaam naast en met elkaar.
And peacemakers
kerk
must be
heeft haar
determined.
plaats in onze
Belgium stands
geschiedenis en in
steadfastly
onze
by the
dagen.
Ukrainian people.
In
We
onze
will continue to
feestdagen
support their quest for
en in
peace
onze
and
cultuur.
security. The conflict in the
Geloof
Middle East is a good illustration of the consequences of
houvast.
self-defense that flouts international law. The law of the
Maar we kunnen
strongest
niet
reigns
voorbij
supreme.
gaan
There
aan
is
de
a way
pijnlijke
out.
wonden
It is
die
imperative
bestaan
that the
binnen de
hostages be
katholieke
freed
geloofsgemeenschap
and that the people of Gaza
en binnen
return
de
to
brede
dignified
maatschappij.
living conditions. War is always a
De
defeat
vele
for
gevallen van
humanity.
seksueel misbruik
Your Holiness,
en van
Belgium has
gedwongen
changed dramatically
adopties
since your
hebben
predecessor's
het
visit.
vertrouwen
A few decades, the
zwaar
spirituality of many
beschadigd.
Belgians looks completely different. Diverse
U zet
faith
zich in voor een
communities live
rechtvaardige
peacefully
aanpak.
alongside and with one
Maar
another.
er is nog een lange weg
The
te
Church
gaan.
has its place in our history and in our
De
customs,
bedienaars van de
our
kerk
holidays,
werken
and
met
in our culture.
overtuiging en
Faith
met
provides a
naastenliefde.
foothold for many. We
Maar
cannot ignore
wanneer
the
er
painful
iets
wounds that
misgaat,
exist within the Catholic
dan
faith
kunnen
community
we
and wider
een
society.
doofpot niet
The many
aanvaarden.
cases of sexual abuse and
Dit
forced
schaadt
adoptions
het waardevolle
have
werk
severely
van
damaged
iedereen.
the Church.
Vandaag
have done severe damage. You are committed to
niet
justice.
alleen
Church's
woorden.
ministers work with conviction
Er
and
moeten
charity.
ook
But when
concrete
something goes wrong,
stappen
we cannot
gezet
accept a
worden.
cover-up. This damages
De
everyone's
slachtoffers
valuable work.
moeten gehoord
Today,
worden.
therefore, mere words are not
Zij
enough.
dienen
Concrete steps
centraal te
must
staan.
also be taken. The
Ze hebben
victims must be
recht
heard.
op de
They must be
waarheid.
at the center. They have a right to
De
the truth.
wandaden
The atrocities
dienen
must
te
be
worden
acknowledged,
erkend.
and justice must be
En
done. This is not
er
only a
dient
moral obligation,
gerechtigheid
but also
te
a
komen.
necessary step to regain trust.
Dat is niet alleen een morele verplichting, maar ook een noodzakelijke stap om het vertrouwen terug te winnen. Menselijke waardigheid dient voorop te staan, niet de belangen van het instituut. Om de blik opnieuw voorwaarts te kunnen richten, dient de kerk in het reine te komen met haar verleden. Uw heiligheid, vele gelovigen kijken vol
Your
verwachting
Holiness, many
uit naar uw
believers
komst.
eagerly await
Uw bezoek kan
your
inspireren om
acknowledgement
bruggen te
of
bouwen
misdeeds.
en kan religies
and
ook
justice must be
aansporen
done.
om verbondenheid te zoeken. De Belgen nodigen u uit om stil te staan bij de
Many
uitdagingen
believers
van onze
are
moderne samenleving.
eagerly awaiting your arrival.
Ik hoop dat uw tijd in ons land u vele nieuwe inzichten kan brengen.
Your visit can inspire to build bridges and can also encourage religions to seek communion. Religions invite you to reflect on the challenges of our modern society. I hope your time in our country brings new insights. Thank you. And apologies for the rough translation there on my part. We'll now have the words of the Holy Father.
Vostra Maestà, Signor Primo Ministro, Fratelli Vescovi, distinte
Your
autorità,
Majesties, Mr. Prime Minister, Brother
Signore e
Bishops,
Signori,
distinguished authorities, ladies and gentlemen,
ringrazio Vostra Maestà
thank Your Majesty
per la
for
cordiale
your cordial
accoglienza
welcome
e per il cortese
and
indirizzo
kind
di
words
saluto.
of greeting.
Sono molto lieto di visitare il Belgio.
I am very pleased to be visiting
Quando si pensa a
Belgium.
questo paese,
When I think of this
si
country,
evoca contemporaneamente qualcosa
what
di
comes to mind
piccolo
is
e di
something
grande.
small yet great.
Un paese occidentale
A country in the
e al
West
tempo stesso
that at the same
centrale,
time is also at the
come se
center.
fosse il cuore pulsante di un
As if Belgium were the beating
gigantesco
heart
organismo.
of an enormous
In
organism.
effetti, le
Indeed,
proporzioni e
it would be a
l'ordine
mistake to judge the
delle
quality of a
grandezze
country
ingannano.
by
Il
its
Belgio
geographical
non è uno
size.
Stato molto stesso, ma la sua peculiare storia ha fatto
Belgium may
sì
not be a
che
large state, yet
subito
its
dopo la fine
particular
della
history
Seconda
has been
Guerra
impactful.
Mondiale i popoli
Immediately after the
europei
Second World War,
stanchi,
the exhausted
esfiniti,
and
iniziando un
downhearted
serio
peoples of
cammino di
Europe,
pacificazione,
and beginning a profound
collaborazione
process of
e
peace,
integrazione,
cooperation,
hanno
and
guardato al
integration,
Belgio
looked to
come
your
sede
country as a natural
naturale
location to
delle
establish key
principali
European
istituzioni
institutions.
europee.
This is because Belgium
Per
was
il
on the
fatto
fault
di
line between
essere
the
sulla linea di faglia tra mondo
the
germanico e
Germanic
mondo
and Latin
latino,
worlds,
confinante con Francia e Germania, che
sandwiched
più
between
avevano
France and Germany,
incarnato
two
le
countries
antitesi
that had most embodied
nazionalistiche
the
alla base
opposing
del
nationalistic
conflitto,
ideals
esso
underlying the
apparve
conflict.
come luogo ideale, quasi una sintesi dell'Europa, da cui ripartire per la sua ricostruzione fisica, morale e spirituale. Si direbbe che il Belgio sia un ponte tra
We
il
could describe
continente
Belgium
e le
as a
isole
bridge
britanniche,
between the continent and the
tra
British Isles,
l'area di matrice
between the
germanica e
Germanic
quella
and French-speaking
francofona,
regions,
tra il sud e il nord
between southern
dell'Europa.
and northern Europe.
Un ponte per permettere alla
A bridge
concordia di
enabling concord to
espandersi
spread and
e di far
disputes to abate.
indietriggiare le controversie. Un ponte
A
dove
bridge
ciascuno, con la
where
sua
all
lingua,
people,
la sua
with their own
mentalità, le
languages,
sue
ways of thinking,
convinzioni,
and beliefs,
incontra l'altro
can
e
meet
sceglie la
others
parola,
and choose
il
conversation,
dialogo, la
dialogue,
condivisione
and
come
sharing
mezzi
as the
per
means of
relazionarsi.
mutual interaction.
Un luogo dove si
A
impara
place where
a
all
fare
can
della
learn to
propria
make their
identità
own
non un
identity
idolo
not
o
an
una
idol
barriera,
or a barrier,
ma uno spazio ospitale
but a
da
welcoming
cui
place
partire
from
e a
which
cui
to begin
ritornare,
and then
dove
return.
promuovere
A
validi
place for promoting
interscambi
valuable
e
personal
cercare insieme
exchanges,
nuovi equilibri,
seeking together
costruire
new
nuove
social
sintesi.
stability and building new
Il
agreements.
Belgio è un ponte che
Belgium, a
favorisce i
bridge that promotes
commerci,
trade,
mette in
connects
comunicazione
and brings
e fa
cultures
dialogare le
into
civiltà.
dialogue.
Un ponte dunque
An
indispensabile
indispensable
per
bridge, then,
costruire la pace
for building
e
peace
ripudiare la guerra.
and rejecting war.
Si comprende bene
It
allora
is easy
quanto
to
sia
see
grande il piccolo
how
Belgio.
great little
Si
Belgium really
capisce
is,
come l'Europa
how
ne
Europe
abbia
needs Belgium
bisogno per
to
ricordare a
remind
se
it
stessa la sua
that its
storia,
history
fatta di popoli, culture,
comprises
di
peoples and
cattedrali,
cultures,
università,
cathedrals
di
and
conquiste e di
universities,
ingegno umano, ma
achievements
anche
of human
da
ingenuity,
tante guerre
but also many wars,
e di una volontà
and the
di
will to
dominio
dominate that
che è
sometimes
diventata a
led
volte
to colonialism and
colonialismo e
exploitation.
sfruttamento. L'Europa ha bisogno del Belgio
Europe needs
per
Belgium
portare avanti
in
il
order to
cammino di
continue
pace
along
e
the
di
path of peace and
fraternità
fraternity
tra i popoli
among
che
its
la
peoples.
compongono. Questo paese ricorda a tutti gli altri
Indeed, this country
che
is a reminder
quando
to
sulla
all
base
others
delle più
that when the
gravi e
nations
sostenibili
disregard
discusse
borders
si
or breach
comincia a
treaties,
non rispettare più
I'm playing the
confini
most varied
e
and untenable
trattati
excuses,
e si lascia alle armi il diritto di
when they
creare il
use weapons to replace actual
sovvertendo
law
quello vigente, si scopercia il vaso di Pandora.
with the principle of
Tutti i
might is right,
venti
then they open
incominciano a
Pandora's
soffiare
box,
violenti,
unleashing violent storms
squassando
that
la
batter the
casa
house,
e
threatening
minacciando di
to
distruggerla.
destroy it.
E in questo momento storico
In this historic moment,
credo che il Belgio
I believe that Belgium
ha un ruolo molto
has a
importante.
very important role.
Siamo
We are
vicini a una guerra
close to a war,
quasi mondiale.
this
La concordia e la
worldwide
pace infatti
possible
non sono
conflict.
una conquista che si ottiene una volta per tutte, bensì un
Moreover,
compito
peace and harmony are
e
never
una
once for all.
missione.
On the
La
contrary,
concordia e
they
la pace
are a
sono un
duty and a
compito e una
mission
missione.
that needs to be
Una
undertaken
missione
unceasingly,
incessante da coltivare,
with great
da
care
curare
and
con
patience.
tenacia e pazienza. L'essere
For
umano,
when human
infatti,
beings
quando smette di fare memoria del passato,
forget the memory of the past
smette di fare memoria del passato e di lasciarsene istruire,
and its valuable
possiede la
lessons, they
sconcertante
run the
capacità
dangerous risk
di tornare a
of once again
cadere
falling
anche
backwards,
dopo che si sia finalmente rialzato,
even after having finally moved on, forgetting the suffering
dei costi spaventosi
and the appalling costs
pagati dalle
paid
generazioni
by
precedenti.
previous generations.
In questo la memoria non funziona, è curioso.
In this, memory doesn't work. It's strange.
Siano
Even if perhaps there
nella
are
società, nelle
in
persone,
society
ci fanno cadere sempre nelle stesse cose.
who've done evil in the same kinds of things.
In questo senso il Belgio
In this
è
regard,
quanto mai prezioso per la
Belgium
memoria
is
del
more essential
continente
than ever
europeo.
for keeping alive the memory
Essa
of the European
infatti mette a
continent.
disposizione
Indeed, it provides an
argomenti
irrefutable argument
inoppugnabili per sviluppare
for
un'azione
developing
culturale,
a
sociale e
timely
politica
and continuous
costante
cultural,
e
social, and
tempestiva, coraggiosa
political
e insieme
movement
prudente che
that
escluda
at the same time is both
un
courageous
futuro in
and
cui
prudent. A
nuovamente
movement that excludes from the
l'idea e
future
la
the
prassi
idea
della
and the
guerra
practice of war
diventino un'opzione
as a
percorribile
viable option
con
with all its
conseguenze
catastrophic
catastrofiche.
consequences.
La storia, lo sappiamo,
We know the history.
magista, vite, maestra della vita.
Furthermore, history is
Troppo
often
spesso
unheeded.
inascoltata.
Is the often unheeded
Belgio chiama
Magistra
l'Europa a
Vitae, teacher of life. In
il suo
Belgium's
cammino,
history, it
a
calls
ritrovare
Europe to
il suo
return to its
vero
path,
volto, a
to
investire
rediscover its
nuovamente
true identity,
sul futuro,
and invest
aprendosi
once again
alla
in the
vita,
future
alla
by
speranza,
opening itself to
per
life and to hope,
sconfiggere
by
l'inverno
overcoming the demographic
demografico
winter
dell'inferno della guerra.
and the torments of war.
E sono due calamità,
These are
in questo
two
momento.
calamities
L'inferno
at this
della guerra
time.
lo stiamo vedendo,
The
che
wars
può
that are
trasformarsi
happening
in una guerra mondiale, e l'inverno demografico.
and the demographic winter.
In questo dobbiamo essere pratici.
This we have to be
Fare
practical.
figli,
Have children.
fare figli.
Have children.
La Chiesa Cattolica vuole essere una presenza che, testimoniando la propria fede in Cristo risorto,
And bearing
offre alle
witness to its
persone,
faith in
alle
the risen
famiglie,
Christ, the
alle
Catholic Church
società e
wishes
alle
to be a
nazioni
presence
una
offering
speranza
individuals,
antica,
families,
sempre
societies,
nuova.
and nations
Una
a
presenza che
hope
aiuta
both ancient
tutti
and ever
ad
new.
affrontare le
A
sfide e le
presence
prove,
helping everyone to
senza
face
facili
challenges
entusiasmi
and
né
difficulties,
cupi pessimistici, ma con la
not with
certezza
frivolous
che
enthusiasm or
l'essere
bleak
umano,
pessimism,
amato da Dio,
but with the
ha una
certainty that
vocazione eterna di
humanity,
pace
loved by
e di
God,
bene,
is not destined to collapse into nothingness, but is eternally
non
called
è
to goodness
destinato alla
and peace.
dissoluzione o al nulla. Tenendo fisso lo sguardo
Fixing her
a
gaze
Gesù,
on Jesus,
la Chiesa
the
si
Church always
riconosce
recognizes
sempre
herself
come la discepola
as the
che
disciple
con timore
who
e
follows her
tremore
Master with fear
segue il
and
suo
trembling.
Maestro, sapendo di
While she
essere
knows that she herself is
santa,
holy, for she has been founded by the Lord,
costituita da Lui,
she experiences at the same time
al tempo stesso
the fragility
fragile, santa e peccatrice,
and shortcomings of her members.
al tempo stesso fragile e mancante dei suoi membri, ma completamente
We're never
adeguata
fully up to the task entrusted to
affidandole
them,
che sempre la supera.
since it is always beyond their capacity.
Essa annuncia una notizia che può
The
colmare
Church
i
proclaims
cuori
the
di
good news
gioia
that can fill our
con
hearts
le
with
opere
joy.
di carità e
The works of
l'innumerevole
charity and countless
testimonianze
examples of love for our
amore.
neighbor,
di amore al prossimo, e che cerca di offrire segni
the Church
concreti e
seeks to
prove
offer
dell'amore.
concrete and trusted signs of the love that
Essa,
motivates
tuttavia,
her.
vive nella concretezza delle culture
And she also lives in a specific
e delle
culture,
mentalità di
within
una
the thinking
determinata epoca,
of a given
che
age,
contribuisce a plasmare o che in qualche
that she
modo
sometimes helps
a
to
volte
shape,
subisce,
and
e non
to which
sempre
at other times she is
vive
subjected.
il messaggio evangelico.
And her members do not always understand and live the message of the gospel
La Chiesa è peccatora,
in all its
peccatrice,
purity and
è
fullness.
santa e peccatrice. In questa perenne
In
coesistenza
this perennial
tra
coexistence
santità e peccato,
of light and shadow,
questa coesistenza di luce e ombra vive la Chiesa
the
con
Church
esiti
carries out
spesso
her
di grande
mission,
generosità,
often with examples of
splendida
great
dedizione,
generosity and
e a
heartfelt
volte
dedication,
purtroppo
Sadly, at times, with the emergence of painful counter-testimonies. I've heard the tragic instances of child abuse, to which the Prime Minister has just referred, as well as the King, which is a scourge that the Church is addressing firmly and decisively by listening to and accompanying those who have been wounded, and by implementing a prevention program throughout the world. Brothers and sisters, this is a shame. A shame that oggi we have to accept and apologize for the plague of abuse of minors. And think of the time of the Holy Innocents, when today in the same church there are crimes like the crimes of Herod at the time of the Innocents. It's shameful. And we have to seek to resolve this situation with humility, with Christian humility, and do everything to make sure that this will never happen again.
Secondo le statistiche, la grande maggioranza degli abusi si dà in
famiglia. The great majority of things happen in the family or wherever.
Se uno solo è sufficiente per vergognarsi, nella Chiesa dobbiamo chiedere perdono di questo.
The Church has to ask forgiveness for this, not for what other people have done, but for what has happened within the Church.
Sono stato rattristato a questo proposito di un altro fenomeno.
I am also saddened of another phenomenon, and having learned about the practice of forced adoptions that also took place here in Belgium in the past. In these poignant stories, we see how the bitter fruit of wrongdoing and criminality was mixed in with what was unfortunately the prevailing view in all parts of society at the time. This was so much the case that many people believed in conscience that they were doing something good for both the child and the mother. Frequently, the family and other actors in society, including within the Church, thought that in order to avoid the stigma that unfortunately fell upon unmarried mothers in those times, it would be preferable for the good of both the child and the mother that the child be given up for adoption. There were even cases in which some women were not given the possibility of choosing between keeping their children or giving them up for adoption.
Se tenere il bambino o darlo in adozione. E questo succede oggi.
And this happens today
in alcune culture.
In some cultures.
Qualche paese.
In some countries.
Come successore dell'Apostolo
As
Pietro,
the successor of the Apostle Peter, I pray to the Lord that the Church will always find within herself the strength to bring clarity and never conform to the predominant culture, even when that culture uses, in a manipulative way, values derived from the Gospel, drawing from it inauthentic conclusions that cause suffering and exclusion. I pray that the leaders of the nations, looking at Belgium and its history, will be able to learn from it. In this way, they can spare their peoples endless misfortunes and sorrow. I likewise pray that those in government will know how to take up the responsibility, the risk, and the honor of peace, knowing how to avoid the danger, disgrace, and absurdity of war. I pray to you that they will fear the judgment of conscience, of history, and of God, so that their hearts and minds will be converted so as always to put the common good first.
In questo momento
in this moment
nel quale l'economia si è sviluppata tanto,
in which the economy is developing so much,
vorrei sottolineare
I want
che
to emphasize that
in qualche paese
in some countries,
gli investimenti che danno più redditi sono le fabbriche delle armi.
investments are dedicated to the arms trade.
Signore e signori,
Your
il
Majesty,
motto di
ladies
questa
and gentlemen,
visita nel vostro
the motto of
paese
my visit to your
En route
country
avec espérance.
is En route
Mi fa
avec
riflettere il
espérance,
fatto che
on the way
Esperance
with hope.
sia scritto
The fact
con la
that
maiuscola
Espérance, hope, is
mi
written
dice
with a
che
capital
la
letter
speranza
leads me
non
to
è una
reflect that
cosa
hope
che
is
durante il
not merely
cammino si
something
porta
to be
nello
carried
zaino, no.
in our baggage on
La
a journey. No.
speranza è un
Instead,
dono di Dio.
hope is a gift from God.
Forse è la virtù più umile,
It is to be carried
diceva lo
humbly,
scrittore, ma le virtù più umile, ma quella che non fallisce mai, non delude mai.
that never
La speranza è un
disappoints
dono
us.
di Dio e si porta nel cuore.
Hope must be carried in our hearts.
E allora voglio lasciare
It
questo
is a gift
augurio
from
a
God that
voi,
is to be
a
carried in
tutti
our
gli
hearts.
uomini e le
I'd like
donne
to leave you
che vivono
then,
in Belgio.
ladies and gentlemen, with the following wish
Possiate
for you and for all those living in Belgium.
questo
May you
dono del
always
Spirito Santo,
ask this gift from
la
the Holy Spirit,
speranza,
hope,
per camminare insieme
and
con
welcome it
speranza
in order to
nella
walk together
strada
with hope
della vita e della storia. Grazie.
along the path of life and history. The words of our Holy Father, following remarks from His Majesty King Philip of Belgium and the Prime Minister. Alexander Ducroux. The Pope highlighting some issues that were addressed by His Majesty and by the Prime Minister, notably the crisis of abuse, which has struck this country very hard, and also the issue of forced adoptions, which is a practice that was very common, especially as the Holy Father mentioned, throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s of the last century. And as the Pope further mentioned, that continues in some parts of the world today. At the beginning of his address, the Holy Father highlighted Belgium's role. He said more than once, spoke very eloquently about the importance of Belgium in Europe, especially, and throughout the world. Of course, both the King and the Prime Minister also highlighted Belgium's commitment to its duties and its role and mission throughout the world. The Holy Father is going to be continuing his stay in Belgium with a speech later this afternoon to university professors at the University of Leuven at 4:30 p.m. Rome time. And with the Holy Father's departure, this morning's broadcast is drawing to a close. On behalf of Vatican Radio, I would like to thank our partner stations, including EWTN TV, Catholic Faith Network in America, Salt and Light TV, Radio Maria England, Shalom World TV, Atma Darshan TV, Catholic TV, Luminous Radio India, and Radio Maria Papua New Guinea. For full coverage of the encounter this morning with civil authorities, and all the events during the Pope's Apostolic Journey, which began yesterday in Luxembourg and is continuing in Belgium, we do invite you to visit the Vatican News web portal, as well as our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube accounts. Do join us again this afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Rome time for Pope Francis' meeting with university professors at the Catholic University of Leuven. Special thanks this morning to our producers and technicians here in studio. And thanks to all of you for joining us this morning. My name is Christopher Wells. It's been a great pleasure providing the English language translation and commentary for this morning's encounter. Praise be Jesus Christ. Laudetur Jesus Christus.